A guy brought his 2018 Silverado 1500 into my shop last month with 35,000 miles on it, and the transmission pan looked like a snow globe full of metal shavings. I asked him when he last changed the fluid, and he looked at me like I was speaking another language. He said the dealer told him the fluid was good for life. And I wanted to throw something, because that truck needed a $6,000 rebuild, and every bit of it was preventable. So today, I am going through 7 things that are killing Chevy transmissions. And I am not talking about the generic change your fluid and check your dipstick stuff you have heard 1,000 times. I dug into actual court documents from the class action lawsuits, internal GM emails with named engineers, and real part numbers you can order tonight. Number 1. That lifetime fluid label on your Chevy transmission is the most expensive lie General Motors ever printed. Go pull out the owner's manual for a 2019 Silverado 1500 and look up the transmission service interval for normal driving. You know what you will find? Nothing. General Motors does not list one. The only interval they give is 45,000 miles for severe duty, which they define as frequent towing, hot climates, stop-and-go traffic, and commercial use, which, if you think about it, describes basically every truck on the road. I have talked to independent transmission specialists about this for years, and every single one of them says the same thing. Change the fluid every 50 to 60,000 miles. Period. The whole lifetime fluid concept is a marketing decision, not an engineering one. The fluid starts breaking down the second it heats up, and by 80,000 miles, the additive package that protects your clutch packs is gone. There is this myth floating around that if you change old transmission fluid, it will kill the transmission. I hear it constantly. The reason the myth exists is that people wait until the transmission is already slipping. Then they change the fluid as a last-ditch effort. The transmission dies a week later, and they blame the fluid change instead of the 100,000 miles of neglect that came before it. If your fluid is still red and does not smell burnt, change it. Do not wait for permission from General Motors. But the fluid type matters just as much as the interval, and that brings me to a mistake I still see shops making. Number 2. If you drive anything with the older 4-speed or 6-speed Chevy automatic, there is a chance somebody put the wrong Dexron fluid in your transmission, and you would never know it until things start going sideways. GM retired Dexron 3 back in 2006 because the additives in it could not handle the heat. The stuff would start breaking down and turning acidic once it got above 200 degrees, and on a truck that tows, 200 degrees is Tuesday afternoon. The correct fluid for those older trucks is Dexron 6. For the 8-speed trucks built after 2015, it gets even more specific. GM originally shipped them with a Dexron HP fluid in a black label bottle, and that fluid was so sensitive to moisture that just 0.1% water contamination would wreck the additive package. GM eventually reformulated it into the blue label bottle with a different base stock that could handle moisture. So if you have a 2015 through 2018 Silverado or Colorado with the 8-speed, and someone topped it off with whatever generic jug was on the shelf at the parts store, that is a problem. I personally think this is one of the sneakiest failure points on these trucks, because the wrong fluid does not throw a code. It just quietly eats your clutch packs until one day the transmission shudders at 45 miles per hour and the dealer quotes you $4,000. But getting the right fluid in there only solves half the problem, because your Chevy might be cooking it from the inside without ever telling you. And that is one of the wildest design decisions I have ever seen from GM. Number 3. Inside the transmission on the 6-speed and 8-speed Chevy trucks, there is a little component called a thermal bypass valve. This valve controls when transmission fluid gets sent to the cooler. And here is where it gets stupid. The factory bypass valve on the 8-speed does not open until the fluid hits 194 degrees Fahrenheit. The problem is that transmission fluid starts breaking down at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So by the time the cooler even gets a chance to do its job, the fluid is already taking damage. For every 18 degrees you go above 200 degrees Fahrenheit, your fluid life gets cut in half. So the math gets ugly fast. That means a truck cruising at 218 degrees Fahrenheit has half the fluid life of a truck running at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And your dashboard does not warn you until 270 degrees Fahrenheit. That is a 70-degree window where your transmission is cooking, and your truck says everything is fine. I had a customer with a 2016 Sierra 2500 who could not figure out why his 8-speed kept overheating during summer commutes. Nobody was towing anything. The shop found that his thermal bypass valve had a cracked plastic spring cup inside. When that cup breaks, the valve sticks shut, fluid never sees the cooler, and the transmission bakes itself. A $50 part, and it had destroyed a $5,000 transmission. GM eventually put out a service bulletin on the 6-speed trucks, lowering the bypass opening temperature to 158 degrees Fahrenheit with an updated thermostat. But they never did the same for the 8-speed. So if you have an 8-speed Silverado or Tahoe, look into an aftermarket bypass valve eliminator. Companies like PPE make them for under $150. It drops your transmission temperature by 30 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and it might be the best money you ever spend on that truck. But even with perfect fluid and perfect cooling, GM built a trap into the 8-speed that no amount of maintenance can fully prevent. And this is the part that made me angry when I read the court documents. Number 4. The 8-speed transmission in the 2015 through 2019 Silverado, Colorado, Tahoe, Camaro, and a bunch of other General Motors trucks has a design defect that General Motors knew about before the trucks ever shipped. Internal emails from 2013, while they were still testing the Corvette with this transmission, described the torque converter shutter as terrible. Here is what is actually happening. General Motors runs the torque converter clutch in continuous slip instead of locking it fully. They do this to mask the vibration from active fuel management, their cylinder deactivation system. When the engine drops from 8 cylinders to 4, it shakes. The slipping converter hides that shake. But the slip generates friction heat, and the friction heat burns through the fluid additives that keep the clutch surfaces stable. Once those additives are gone, the clutch surface goes from grabbing to slipping, and you get a shudder that feels like driving over rumble strips at highway speed. General Motors engineers proposed a fix. They calculated it would cost $305 per truck to flush every one of those transmissions with the updated fluid. Across the fleet, that came to $592 million. Management said no. They approved the flush on 6,500 unsold trucks, mostly Cadillacs, and shipped the remaining 234,000 vehicles to customers with the failing fluid still inside. One of the engineers involved sent an email that said it is going to blow up real soon, and it did. General Motors ended up issuing over 60 technical service bulletins on this transmission. A class action covered 800,000 vehicles across 26 states. And the shudder keeps coming back because General Motors never actually changed the design. The continuous slip used to hide active fuel management vibration is still there. If you have one of these trucks and the shudder has started, a $200 aftermarket transmission tune from a company like Black Bear Performance can fix it. The tune forces the torque converter to lock up fully and shuts off the cylinder deactivation. I have seen owners experience zero loss in fuel economy with active fuel management completely turned off. General Motors will not perform this tune because the factory settings are what they use to pass their government fuel economy tests, but the aftermarket will, and it works. But the 8-speed is not the only Chevy transmission with a ticking time bomb inside it. If you are running the older 4-speed automatic, there is a $15 part hiding in your transmission that could save you thousands. Number 5. When GM designed the 4-speed automatic they used in the Silverado, the Tahoe, the Suburban, and the Impala from 1993 all the way through the mid-2000s, They made one specific cost-cutting decision that still kills these transmissions today. The 1-to-2 accumulator piston, the part that cushions the shift from first gear to second gear, is made out of plastic. The older transmission it replaced used an aluminum piston. Aluminum does not crack. Plastic does. When that plastic piston cracks from years of heating up and cooling down, it tips sideways in the bore. Transmission fluid bleeds past it. Your shift from first to second turns into a slam that shakes the whole truck. One forum post I read summed it up perfectly. The guy said, "If you ever change the fluid, you are stupid if you do not replace the plastic 1-to-2 accumulator piston while you have the pan off." He is right, because what happens next if you ignore it is way worse than a rough shift. The aluminum replacement is about $15 from Sonax. You remove 3 bolts on the accumulator housing, swap the piston, and you are done. No transmission removal required. I have done this swap in parking lots. And yet in 20 years of working on these trucks, I have never seen a single dealer or quick lube shop mention it during a fluid change. It is one of those things where the fix is so cheap and so easy that nobody makes money telling you about it, so nobody does. But knowing what is inside your transmission does not help if you are killing it with how you drive. And this next one is specifically for anyone who tows with a Silverado or a Sierra. Number 6. If you are towing anything with your Chevy truck and you are not pressing the tow haul button, you are slowly grinding your transmission to death, and you cannot feel it happening. A lot of guys skip tow haul mode because they hook up a trailer and the truck still drives fine without it. It shifts, it pulls, everything feels normal. But what is happening inside is not normal at all. Without tow haul, the transmission hunts between gears on every little grade change. Every time it hunts, the clutch packs grab, let go, grab again, let go again. All of that shifting creates friction, which becomes heat, and heat is the single fastest way to kill a transmission. Tow haul mode does 3 things. It holds gears longer so you get fewer shifts. It locks the torque converter earlier so you get less slip, and it raises the line pressure so the clutch packs grab harder with less slippage. I had one viewer leave a comment a while back saying his transmission hit 400 degrees, pulling a travel trailer up a 17-mile mountain grade without tow haul engaged. 400 degrees. That is well past the point where the fluid is destroyed and the seals are hardening. If you tow and you are not hitting that button every single time, go watch my video on towing mistakes that kill your truck, because I walk through exactly what happens to your transmission at every temperature level. But heat is not the only invisible killer in your Chevy transmission. This last one is brand new and it is bad. If you are watching this and you are not subscribed yet, now would be a good time, because I have a video coming on the 10-speed that is going to make a lot of people rethink their next truck purchase. Number 7. The 10-speed transmission that GM and Ford developed together is now the subject of a recall covering over 460,000 trucks. The failure mode is scary. A valve inside the valve body wears down by about 1/1000th of an inch. And when it does, the transmission can try to engage 2 gears at the same time. When that happens, your rear wheels lock up at highway speed with no warning light and no check engine code beforehand. It just locks. GM's first fix was a software update. It detects when the valve starts wearing out and forces the truck into a reduced power mode that locks you out of 7th and 8th gear. Owners have reported their fuel economy dropping by 30% while towing after this update because the truck is stuck in lower gears permanently. The hardware fixes a new valve body, but parts have been on national back order for months. I have talked to guys who waited 9 weeks, 12 weeks, and one owner told me he waited over 5 months. Here is something interesting that came out recently. Putting a 2025 Silverado in sport mode raises the overall line pressure throughout the transmission. Higher line pressure means the valves get pushed down harder, which means less wobble and less wear inside the valve body. It is basically the same thing the aftermarket valve body upgrades from companies like Suncoast do for these trucks. Sport mode will not undo damage that has already happened. But if your 10-speed is still shifting clean, running it in sport mode during normal driving might slow the wear that leads to the lockup. GM will not tell you that because they would rather sell you a new valve body after the warranty expires. I personally think that is criminal, but that is GM for you. Look, the theme across everything I just covered is the same. General Motors builds decent hardware, but the decisions they make around that hardware are designed to save General Motors money, not to save your transmission. The good news is that almost every one of these problems has a fix that costs less than a tank of diesel if you catch it early enough. And the single best thing you can do right now, today, before anything else, is check your transmission fluid. If it is brown, if it smells burnt, if you cannot even remember the last time it was changed, that is where you start. Everything else flows from there. If you have not seen it yet, go watch my video on 10 stupid Chevy features that are killing your gas mileage. I will link it right here and see you in that one.